Zambia. Good evening, Africa, and warm welcome to the Dalitsa program right here on KBN TV from Zambia's capital city, Lusaka. With me, Innocent Phil, you can simply call me IP. Today, the 15th of February, the year 2026, rather. And we are back again with some of the big stories that you might have missed out during the course of the week. So ensure that you do not move an inch, because you end up missing some bigger conversations we have here, where we discuss matters without fear nor favor. Allow me to unveil the team that joins me every Sunday at 20:30 hours, right here on your number one channel, which is the finest television in Zambia, KBN TV. Comrade Speech Analyst, welcome and good evening to you.
Good evening, IP, and good evening to our dear viewers. Thank you very much for having me, and I want to wish our dear viewers that this show they shouldn't miss, because we have a lot.
Fantastic. Also, we've got the ambassador himself. I call him the striker. We have so far. Ambassador, welcome and good evening to you.
But IP, our host with the most grateful for you to host us every Sunday evening with the blessings of our good Lord, and most of all, after missing the PK from last weekend. Good evening to you and good evening to our viewers.
Fantastic. The man that you missed out last week, person with a big heart, a man sometimes, I envy in the manner he does things. His name is Pastor Kennedy Mambwe. But of course, PK, that's his name. PK, welcome.
IP, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to join this panel of distinguished analysts. One day when I grow up, I would like to wear their shoes.
You'll be like you want to be like speech analyst,
hey.
and like ambassador.
Yes, the depth is at another level.
Yes.
You know me, I don't even want to grow up. I just want to be like all of you just now. There's no time.
Fantastic. PK, we missed out. I mean, you missed out some of big stories last week, but also the viewers did miss you last week. Welcome, and it's good to be back on set with you.
It's good to be back indeed. I watched the program and I felt envy, because you had some good stories.
Correct.
You had some good stories. But what is more touching is I met I wouldn't say a friend, I would say a fellow Zambian.
Yeah.
A fellow Zambian who I met, I believe, for the first time. But he says to me, "We missed you on Sunday."
Oh my God. So you were omnipotent and omnipresent, even in your absence.
So I'm happy to be back. You will not miss me today.
Fantastic. Let's get into the stories, but remember, you are watching us via our DSTV channel 279, Go TV channel 27, and Topside Decoder channel 102. But in case you'd want to follow us via our online platforms, you can go to our Facebook page. That's our KBN TV Facebook page. But also the YouTube platform is equally active. As we look at some of the big stories which took center stage last week, we look at the Dalitsa Lungu, the son to the late President Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, whose properties have been forfeited, or rather grabbed, by the state. This was after a prolonged court appearance, and according to the information gathered so far, we've been told that Mr. Lungu Dalitsa failed to justify how he managed to acquire those properties or secure those properties. Hence, the state has decided to take over those properties. We're talking about over 70 properties that have been grabbed by the state. We'll begin from there. Comrade Mike Sichula, what do you make of this story?
Wow. This story is it's something that a number of Zambians, we don't want to see, where wealth that is supposed to belong to every Zambian is centrally into individuals that are privileged with powers that be. However, I want to look at this story from an area of where the law that is being used by the UPND administration, the Forfeiture Act, was actually enacted into law in 2010 before the PF came into office. It was it is a product of the late President Rupia Banda's MMD administration. So it came into existence, and what the law wants to do is that the law aims to combat financial crimes and corruption by allowing the state to seize assets linked to unlawful activities.
Interesting.
So now the bone of contention in this matter is that Dalitsa Lungu, who is the son to late President Edgar Lungu, his defense was that these were properties that were gifted to me by my father.
Correct.
So now, in the absence of Dr. Lungu, who is now late, 8 months, we have not buried him as a nation. We need to be ashamed of ourselves. That issue was not, Dr. Lungu could not defend himself in court to say, I gifted my son the following properties because I got this property from this one, or that one gave me this property. That was absent.
Yeah.
This is the bone of contention in this matter. That was absent because according to our laws, any person is deemed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court. So in this matter, Dalitsa Lungu could not justify to say my father got this farm or got this vehicle out of the 70, this over 60 vehicles that they grabbed from him. He said, got this vehicle from person A and or person Z and so on and so forth. That was absent. That was absent. That's why this case is it's somehow on the other side of the fence. You are going to look at it to say it is an injustice because the person who is being said to have gifted the son the properties is not there to defend how he sourced those properties to give the son. On the other side of the fence, people are saying the Edgar Lungu administration was corrupt. Look at how one person in the name of Dalitsa Lungu could have so much properties after his father was in office for 7 years as president.
Yeah.
But before that, his father was a cabinet minister, was a member of parliament, and he held other ministries.
Defense.
Justice. So those issues also, on the other side, people are saying, how could he acquire so much wealth? I'll give you an example of one particular property that the government has grabbed from Dalitsa Lungu in Chawama, or in Jack compound, where the filling station is was built.
Yeah.
That piece of land in itself had been the property of the Lungus even before Mr. Lungu became earlier member of parliament. You get the thing, right? Even before Mr. Lungu became a member of parliament, that piece of land where the filling station is was constructed belongs to Mr. Lungu. So now, I wanted to, because if you go to Chawama, if you go to Jack compound, I mean, you ask everybody in Chawama, they will tell you to say this property, this land belonged to Mr. Lungu.
There were quite a number of shops there.
Yes, there are quite a number of shops. Yes, and put up a filling station. So sometimes, when you look at how the law is being applied, it is also discouraging people from working hard, because people now begin to fear to say, if I work hard, and maybe I work hard, I do not have a receipt of how I acquired this money and so on and so forth, people can grab this property from me. So it is creating a situation where people are beginning to fear to say, if I do not explain how this property was acquired, even if it is genuine mine, it may be forfeited. Because again, the forfeiture law, it's kind of like blank somewhere. It says if the government is doubting and you, the owner who has been given an opportunity to defend yourself, you fail to defend yourself, not that you don't know how you acquired, but maybe you are missing some receipts, the government is going to grab that property. So it is on the, also on this law is working on the assumption to say you have failed to justify.
Wow.
So those are some of the contentions that we need to look at.
Right.
Then lastly, maybe, you know, when a president is in State House, there are a lot of privileges that come to the president. And the president can decide to say, instead of you giving me this property, give my daughter, give my son. Today, the people of Zambia do not know what President Hakainde Hichelema is receiving. But there will be a time when President Hakainde Hichelema will have to account for all that he is receiving. This is not to mean that when you are a sitting head of state, you must indulge yourself in criminal activities. But like I said earlier in my submission comment, Dr. Lungu was not found guilty by any court in Zambia. But the way this matter has come out, it simply it portrays a picture that Dr. Lungu acquired these properties illegally, and instead of maybe he wanted to disguise himself, he gave these properties to his son. That needs to be explained in the courts of law, but Dr. Lungu is not present to defend himself. That's how unfair this judgment is to the Lungu family.
I love that background you've given, Comrade Speech Analyst.
Thank you.
mean, talking about the Forfeiture Act, when it was enacted and to where it is today. I'll throw the ball to Ambassador. What is your take over this conversation we're having? Dalitsa Lungu losing over 70 properties.
Thank you very much, IP, our host, and thanks again to our viewers this evening. This is a multi-dimensional story.
Yeah.
One of the issues I would like to immediately look at is the fact that 24 million kwacha in question translates to about $1 million US. So when it takes so much hullabaloo as a national debate, it comes to show you how small the size of our economy is. That $1 million can totally take over the national discussion. Secondly, it is a story of perception. People always want to know, is justice being done? Has justice been done? Because justice has to be seen to be done. So they start making comparisons. So for instance, there is a story in our resort town of Livingstone, where there was a young lady. People don't want to discuss this, but I'm glad that the Anti-Corruption Commission, the anti-graft body in Zambia, recently came up and appealed a case against her worship, the mayor of Livingstone, whom many people thought she had gotten away with a slap on the wrist regarding a case in which she had been accused of having obtained funds in order to scrap some rates, sort of had received inducement. Many saw the acquittal as having been given because she belonged to the inner circle. There is several other cases. These ones do not even mean corruption, but there is people who said some extremely heinous and disrespectful things regarding the late president, such as that guy Bruce Kanema. He said things which, under normal circumstances, got people like Chishimba Kambwidi into jail for hate speech.
Yeah.
The point I am trying to make here, IP, host, is people start making comparisons. Why is Dalitsa Lungu, the son of the late president Edgar Lungu, getting his property forfeited when Mr. Hivene Mwinga, a former state house or presidential aide who had double the amount with his wife and his son, 41 million kwacha, got away with a slap on the hand? So when you have these things at play, when people start looking at the mayor of Livingstone, they start looking at the former special aide, Mr. Mwene Hivene, and then they look at Dalitsa Lungu. they start saying, are you saying because Mr. Mwinga Hivene...
Let's deal with the figures. We're talking about 41 million?
41
involving
million
Mr.
kwacha.
Hivene Mwinga.
Involving Mr. Hivene Mwinga.
And Dalitsa
And
Lungu.
Dalitsa's 24 million kwacha, $1 million. It gets splashed all over and it gets forfeited. But Mr. Mwene Hivene, Mwinga Hivene does not get the same punishment that Dalitsa Lungu gets. Neither does Constance Muleyawai at the Livingstone City Council get.
Wow.
So when you have these three scenarios, you get people start thinking, is there a certain set of justice for a certain group of people in Zambia and another set of justice for certain people, perhaps depending on their proximity to the seat of power or the lack of proximity? And the moment you get that, IP, our hosts, and I can look straight into the camera and say to those Zambians like myself, as ordinary people, you get people starting to ask questions. And these questions are very uncomfortable, especially coming 6 months before elections. Because people like yourself and myself that have done Africa literature start looking at George Orwell's Animal Farm and say, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than the others. And therein lies the dilemma. So because the speech analyst had already given the background of the law, I am glad he did that. And he also gave a deep background of why the late President Lungu was called the man from Chawama. He lived in that area. He had barber shops. Mama Esther Lungu has properties in there. Dalitsa Lungu had properties in there. And now some of that property finds itself forfeited. We are not the judges nor the jury. But we are just looking at this and let the people make their own judgment. What is the difference between the property that Mwinga Hivene had? What is the difference between the accusations that Her Worship the Mayor of Livingstone had compared to the crime or the purported crime that Dalitsa Lungu had? Let's forget about the color of their political or regional backgrounds and start the debate from there.
One important angle picked, I think, from both ambassador and also speech analysts is that, first of all, as a country, we seem to have taken away the background of ECL. You know, all we are looking at is ECL was a president for only 7 years. We are not remembering that ECL was once, let's start from him having been a member of parliament and of course having served.
No, actually having been a lawyer.
A
private practicing
maybe that
lawyer.
may not be important. Let's talk about the position.
It's important.
It is important?
It is important.
Okay, fine. Let me ignore that. Okay, for this conversation alone. So because like we are ignoring the fact that ECL was a cabinet minister, minister of defense, justice, home affairs, and also a member of parliament having served in Chawama.
And also former company secretary for ZCCM.
There you
former company secretary for Barclays Bank.
You understand?
Former lawyer for the Media Institutes of Southern Africa. Former businessman and landowner of many properties.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So now, why I'm giving this background is that when you look at some of these MPs who have served for many years, let's talk about the Gary Nkombo, the Jack Mwimbus, the Mwetwas. Believe me, they have managed to empower their children as we speak today. Okay? And eventually or subsequently someone becomes a president. It's like HH, he's been a president for 5 years. If he's out of power, maybe tomorrow, we just begin to look at HH as a president, not HH as a farmer and as a successful businessman before. All in all, PK, the question is, what is that one pack about this story?
I'll probably start on a lighter note. I think it's good to be a president's son, you know. You can
agree with you.
You can have 75, 79 cars to your name.
Correct.
You know, but the downside to that is just by virtue of your status, it attracts some inquisitiveness around what you own.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that there are people who are much more wealthier than Dalitsa.
Oh, yeah.
And no one bothers to ask where you got this from. Because they started by selling carpenter and cooking oil, and they built their portfolio to where they are today. But must someone pay for the sins of being born as a president's son? Should it become an indictment, a criminal matter that should warrant what most people are looking at as an unfair conviction? Because if I am a president's son and my father has held all these portfolios before, and I'm privileged to be gifted with these things, call my father to stand and testify on my behalf. Why do you wait for my father to die? You know that he can't be resurrected from a cold fridge of South Africa to come and defend that, yes, I'm the one who gifted him. So you wait for my father to die. I am vulnerable, and then you say you can't justify how you acquired. It's totally unfair, if you ask me. You shouldn't have waited for the father to die. You should have called the father to come and testify.
And I remember he challenged them when he was still alive. He said, can you come to me? I'm the one who empowered my children.
Yes, he said,
it's on public record.
He said, I know it is me they are after.
Yes.
So why did you have to wait for the father to die? Then you implicate a young man who was not there to earn the wealth that, was gifted to him by the father. To receive a present from a father should not be a criminal activity. If you suspect that the father gave him proceeds of crime, go after the father, who unfortunately is late in this case. So then where is the lawyer, the judge, the SEC drawing their authority to rightfully say this is proceeds of crime, when someone submitted it's actually a gift from my father? I think it bothers me to think about this, but I am happy to hear that he is planning to appeal,
yes.
if he hasn't already appealed. And my last submission really is to just parrot what Ambassador already submitted. You have a high-profile case of a former economic advisor to the same president.
A person who was in government.
Who was in government. He's cited for 41 million, him and his family,
his wife and
children. Okay?
It's the same story, eh?
It's the same story.
Yep.
They are cited for suspected, wealth accumulated out of proceeds of crime.
Yeah.
But the same courts of law says, we find you absolutely innocent. 41 million compared to 24 million of Dalitsa. Your 41 million has got nothing on you. So you go. And I saw the man walking out of the court crying with tears of joy. And I mean, if he earned that money, who are we to say he didn't deserve the justice?
Correct.
He probably deserved the justice.
Correct.
But why must Dalitsa then be punished for gifts that he received from the father, and whose father is actually now speechless, frozen in a fridge because of political acrimony, and people have failed to apply Ubuntu and the African, culture that we know. You don't argue over a dead body. And the worse off, you are now punishing a grieving son whose father is still, even the law. I know they say law is blind, but clearly a judge is a human being. They've got family and they've got emotions. Above the law, there must be logic as well. So let's see what the appeal will look like in this matter.
Right. Let's get into another story, of course, in relations to what has been talked about. Now we're looking at the state which has decided to appeal against the acquittal of Livingstone mayor who was earlier acquitted over those corrupt allegations. So the state says, I think we have to restart all over again. Mike Sichula, let's begin from here. I remember last week we talked about this.
We talked about this.
Indeed.
Quite interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems we have in this country in terms of fighting corruption, we want to portray a picture that we really want to fight corruption, but the people that you are pushing to fight this corruption, they are very demotivated. Demotivated in such a way that you find that when you go and see the budget for the Anti-Corruption Commission from central government, it is a budget that the Anti-Corruption Commission is actually in deficit in terms of them, what they have presented to government to say, in order for us to effectively fight corruption, we need this amount of money. But central government will give SEC what they think they can give them. Then how do you fight corruption with a demotivated workforce? Not long ago, the Financial Intelligence Center boss complained of how when he's traveling out of the country, it doesn't go with enough resources for him to lodge properly in a good hotel and so on and so forth. And this is the person you want to use to fight corruption. Someone who is demotivated. So
perhaps maybe he's also looking for money.
Yes.
He's not capacitated.
He's not capacitated.
Yeah.
So this is the challenge that we have in this country. Then I want to tie the Livingstone issue to the Corruption Perception Index. Zambia has dropped 2 points. And this issue of the Livingstone mayor, when you go to the law in terms of corrupt activities, the law says if someone solicits for a bribe, it is an offense. A person should be punished by law for soliciting a bribe. Now, in this case, even a learned judge, the magistrate who was sitting on this issue, I don't think he went home with his conscience very, very okay. To say, the law says, if someone, and the court was able to establish that the mayor of Livingstone solicited for a bribe and received. Not only soliciting, you also received. That was confirmed and established in the court. Now, for you to go and make a judgment on technicality, to say, no, the bribe came from ambassador and not from IP.
But it was a bribe.
But it was a bribe.
The solicitation was that.
Yes.
And the receiver was that.
Yeah.
But
just because the bribe came from IP instead of them, then mayor, you can go home.
In Zambia challenges.
You can go home, you are free. I don't think it's an embarrassment to the judiciary. It is also an embarrassment to the UPND, because the UPND has told us that they want to run a corrupt-free country. Now, the mayor of Livingstone is a UPND member, and she is overseeing Zambia's tourism capital. And the international community, the people that work on the CPI, there are about 13 organizations that work on the CPI. Yeah. And some of these organizations include the World Bank and the IMF. So if they pick the IMF or the World Bank, next time they come back to say, Zambia, you are not fighting corruption, look at this case, then you are going to say, no, the opposition is frustrating government effort. This is an embarrassment. I think we need to have a system in Zambia where the prosecutors who do not do diligence to criminal cases should be followed and punished. Because there's no way someone who is drawing taxpayers' money, a prosecutor, how do you present before a judge or a magistrate a defective
judgment,
a defective indictment to say, you even know to say, no, it is the IP who gave the bribe, not the ambassador. But you still go ahead and present it before the judge. I think we need to have a system where such people should be followed so that they begin to explain why they made such a mistake. Because this one, it's an embarrassment to the UPND, and it should be a warning to the mayor to say, in the event that there is a change of government, the mayor, the police will come after you.
Over the same particular
issue.
Let's hear from Ambassador. Quite interesting submissions coming from the comrade here.
Indeed.
Well, we are back to the story we had last week.
We had
the Livingstone mayor.
We had, like they say, where my brother the pastor comes from. We cannot run away from this story. It's a major story, especially as we continue talking about corruption. And the Corruption Perception Index, CPI, has just come out, which actually tells a bigger story. It's all about perception. One of the main reasons the Patriotic Front under President Edgar Lungu lost elections is because the current government of President Hakainde Hichelema had couched a very strong communications message on how dirty the government of President Edgar Lungu was. They came up with terminology such as it's a criminal enterprise. They came up with terminology such as it's a mafia. They came up with terminology such as they are looting the country. My God, the terminologies were huge. Excuse me for that. I'm even choking. That's how big the terminologies were. But you know, perception is perception. So the moment you continue repeating that story, it comes to stick on you. These come back from communication strategy days, and Brother PK will tell you he's been into this communication strategy. You have to repeat the lie a million times, and people will start believing it is the truth. But in this case, it actually appears to be true. The speech analyst has already given an example of how money actually sort of exchanged hands. But it is just the person who gave the money and how it went. But if that is not good enough, what about official and scientific evidence on how bad things could be under the current administration, using scientific evidence such as the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC Zambia, established by law, I think under Article number 46, but it looks at the corruption perceptions. And the last, which is the most recent report, I think of 2024, placed a figure of illicit funds flowing out of Zambia at about 3.5 billion US dollars, part private sector and part people who could be connected to the government. Now, you look at the size of our economy, look at our dependency on the International Monetary Fund, on the World Bank, and then an independent institution by law in Zambia says we have established that about 3.5 billion US dollars exited Zambia illicitly or illegally. And yet you have Mr. Stumbeko Musokotwane and a couple of other hombres from the government going to the International Monetary Fund and to the World Bank and saying, we want money, we need you to help with our balance of payment support, we need you to help us with money for digging dams so that we can improve agriculture, we need you to help us with $3 billion, and then we actually are going to line up on the streets and celebrate, yeah, we restructured our debt. Restructuring debt, by the way, in simple English, simply means that instead of me owing what I owe today, I'm just going to pass over that debt to my son, Luvinda, to pay it 20 years from now. I am running away from the responsibility of paying what I owe today. I will pay it later. But in Zambia, we can celebrate it. I know this really hurts the people that love to celebrate debt postponement. It's debt postponement. It's not debt restructuring.
It's not even a write-off.
It's not a write-off. We owe the money today, but we are saying, but PK, you and I, and the speech analyst, and we don't have time for this. Let's just push it over. And besides, I mean, I'm 55. In 10 years, I'll be dead. You know, let this area and Luwinda pay this thing. So I am coming back. This story is about corruption, the story that you have raised. I was just trying to give it a broader perspective and give it a touch of the Financial Intelligence Center and show that we seem to be, every step we make going forward, we seem to be taking about 5 steps backwards. And this also seems to be at variance with what the current administration had stood on the pedestal and said, we are going to campaign on ensuring that Edgar Lungu's deep poverty. I have seen there is one cantankerous politician who likes to dance on President Edgar Lungu's grave. He says outlandish things like, oh, anybody who supports Edgar Lungu's son's forfeiture of property is supporting crime. It's not persecution, it's prosecution. No, we have given you an example of Mr. Hivene and several other people. So please do not, so I could go on, but it's all about perception, IP.
Thank you so much.
It's all about perception, perception, perception. If you said this is grand theft auto under Edgar Lungu, why is it changing now? And you know, while we have mentioned, I know you have already signaled me, you have wagged the finger. While we have mentioned perhaps one person, in this case, the mayor, we still have not heard from our brother, the chief government spokesperson, or the anti-corruption commission chief, or the drug enforcement commission chief, to tell us about the 5 cabinet ministers. Why are they being protected? Why are we selectively fighting graft? Why are we able to expose Dalitsa Lungu?
Right.
And yet we are not able to expose the 5 cabinet ministers
but under investigation.
that are under investigations. Who are they? You know, I mean, it's like the Epstein files, for God's sake. We got some Epstein file thing going on around here in Zambia where some people can be mentioned and others cannot be mentioned.
Yeah. Pick your take over Madam Mulelabai.
You know, this high-profile case of a mayor of an important city of Livingstone and the outcome of it goes to fuel, you know, this speculation that people have held for a long time that our judiciary is on trial. And it has put itself on trial. Because what has come out of that case and judgment is that it has just validated solicitation of bribes. That I can ask ambassador for a bribe and I'll tell him, don't give it to me directly.
Okay.
Give it to IP to come and give it to me.
Or the speech analyst.
Or speech analyst.
I hear you.
So the judgment...
But also, you also tell IP that as you bring this money from ambassador,
yes,
don't use the main door.
Yes.
Use the back door.
Use the back door. That would be a technicality in the court. So I would have received the bribe, but legally I'm clean.
Because you didn't receive it from the front door.
So it reminds me. It reminds me of an AI audio that went viral that the judge must eat.
The judge must eat him. My judge will feel good. I didn't even tell some that.
So,
my God.
and it
But that was
actually,
AI, Pastor.
it's AI, yeah. So we can't accuse anyone. Yeah. So it actually validates the concern that ambassadors raised here. If the government intends to fight corruption with those cabinet ministers and the permanent secretary, why are you hiding them? Are they any special? The government that is coming in August might come after them. So you might as well use your power of incumbents to maybe sanitize them, not to hide them. No. It might come back to bite them, you know, one of these days. So I am happy that the SEC has chosen to go and appeal this case. But also, SEC, I'm hoping that your decision to appeal is not coated in political expedience to sanitize the process, to show that the due diligence was followed. She was convicted, but the state appealed, and still it came out
And
wash
it's-
out.
yes.
Or buy time.
I like that.
Where I come from, they say wash
Wash
out.
out. No, wash out. Yeah. Not wash out.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
not wash out.
Wash out.
In Bemba we say wash out.
Wash out.
Wash
Not,
out.
not wash
I
out.
actually used to think it was Bemba.
No, it's not Bemba. But we have to make it sound Bemba.
Localize, of course.
You localize it. Wash out.
Especially if you learnt English through a Bemba teacher.
That's interesting. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's move on to another story. Now we'll be looking at the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, which has embarked on some electoral reforms ahead of the elections coming up in the next 5 months from now. But also there's been a lot of talks around the operations of the alliances in Zambia. I think about 2 weeks ago there was a story in the media which was more like suggesting that political alliances must be registered for them to operate. But I think more context was given to it by the Chief Electoral Officer who appeared right here on this platform, rather here on KBN TV, speaking to a number of issues in that regards. Let's hear from Mike Sichula. You followed the interview, I guess.
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's get into it.
Because I think I followed him on the previous media house,
Right.
where he did indicate that if you are going to contest an election as an alliance, you must be registered.
Correct.
Then now when it came to KBN, there was somehow a different
Version to it.
version to it. So I want to believe that the Electoral Commission of Zambia needs to be careful, because they are dealing with a very sensitive topic
Yeah.
of elections. And people always have this perception, like Ambassador did say. When people perceive that the Electoral Commission of Zambia is always used by the governing party to do illegal things away from the Electoral Code of Conduct, then it becomes a problem. So I'm glad that the CEO of Electoral Commission of Zambia came to KBN to explain some of the misinformation that may have been on the loose. But again, it's not, you cannot blame people, because on different forums, Mr. Kasalo has said different things. Because I clearly watched him saying, no, your alliance should be registered.
Yeah.
So I was asking myself to say, but look, the PF, when they were in power, and the UPND formed an alliance with the MDC and the parties of Leslie Chikuse and others, the ADDs of this world, there was nothing like that from the ECZ of the PF. But the ECZ of the UPND, they want to create a different, because he was saying, no, this law has been in existence. So I was like, so meaning the PF, the ECZ of the PF didn't use it. Why didn't they use it? I think some of these issues, you need not to resurrect certain things because they exist in the law. Like I did say on this platform on many occasions, I've said giving arms on the streets is an offense.
Yeah.
If people want to punish me, they find me giving arms to a street vendor, they can arrest me because the law exists. Now, you want to create a situation whereby you say, I think some of these issues, let's not become too rigid, let's not become too strict, because we are going to create a different perception out there. So the ECZ, it's good that they are coming out on private platforms, especially on KBN, to explain some of these things. Right. Because the position that we are dealing with is not something that has to be dealt with kids' glove. It's a very sensitive issue. Like one of the reforms the ECZ wants to do, I was asking myself, why do they want to remove the electoral mark on the ballot papers? Because that can create manufacturing of these ballot papers by any Jim and Jack, and people begin to have misinformation on the on the policy that the ECZ, according to them, may be good, but They just need to increase only sensitization. I think most of, especially like the electoral...
As the only way to avoid
yes,
rejected ballots.
Rejected ballots,
right.
Sensitization on a number of issues. And if the matter involves political parties, let them call political parties and explain. Because political parties, when you call them, they are going to ask other follow-up questions, which maybe the media may not be interested, but them as political parties, they also, I think this one is critical to us, right. This one is not critical to us, then we're going to chart a way forward.
Right. Let's begin to cruise. Time is not on our side, gentlemen. Ambassador, what is your takeaway pointers from the CEO of
I watched your interview. It was very exhaustive. So right. Therefore, all I would actually simply ask is, as you run the clips, I would be most grateful. Right. I think for those that did not watch, right. if you can just play that clip right. where Innocent Perry, the hosts, sitting on behalf of Pastor Kennedy Mambo on State of the Nation, has Mr. Brian Kasaro saying, what you do before the elections and outside the elections as an alliance is up to you. Right. For us, there is only two things that matter
borders in each of the districts
when you come to the elections. Either you are sponsored by a party or you are an independent.
Right.
I'll end there.
Maybe let's do this. Let's play this as you've demanded. Let's have a clip of the CEO of ECZ.
To arrive at the 70. Yeah. So the provincial sittings are projected to conclude by mid-March. Then the commission then would, from mid-March to early April, will use that time now to consolidate and arrive and make the determination of the 70. And by 15th April, the commission will inform the nation that these are the new 70 constituencies via a gazette notice, but also sharing that information using the available public media, rather the available means of communication, so widely circulated newspapers, social media, television yourselves, and all these platforms. Now, the Constitution also guides that these new boundaries will take effect at the next dissolution of Parliament, so which is mid-May. So it is for this reason that they will be announced early mid-April, so that by the time mid-May comes, then they take effect. So this is the timeline that the Commission has put together for us to be able to achieve this.
When I listen to you, so much, PK, you can pick it up from there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was very necessary that Mr. Brown Kasaro came here and gave what I would call clarity to this issue. It was becoming a bit thorny and heavy on the minds of the people. By the way, IP, you handled State of the Nation in such a manner that myself, I wouldn't have managed. I wouldn't have managed. I watched and enjoyed that show, and I said, this man must take over State of the Nation.
No. I only come in when there's a demand.
No, that's the general response.
Yes.
So you see, when I watched that and heard the clarity that came from Mr. Brown Kasaro, I kind of agreed with him that you are either an independent or you are sponsored by a political party. I have no qualms with that, but I still have a problem about the issue of removing the mark. Okay,
is it a watermark? Huh?
Yes.
No, it's a stamp actually. It's a stamp because you see, according to his own submission. It is actually the problem caused by people recruited by the Electoral Commission. Because when you go to vote, Ambassador, they'll get a ballot, stamp it, then give it to you. Then he said sometimes they get and forget to stamp. So you cannot correct a human error by changing a law. I think that is totally unacceptable. What you need to do is retrain your staff. Let it be embedded in their mindset that as I take the ballot, that's number one. Number two is stamping it. Number three, it is handing it over. It's a 3-step process. You cannot change a law because your own staff are missing a step. No, this is it as our submission to the process. please just retrain your staff. Otherwise, you will fuel speculation that you want to aid the rigging of the election. Remember, there is perception about some of the appointees at ECZ, and you do not need to validate those perceptions. Do the right thing, retrain your staff. You cannot change a law to correct a human mistake of failure to stamp a ballot, and you say, already you're dealing with too many things. Delimitation,
There you go.
the Electoral Process Act, and all of these things. Surely you even want to sneak in the change of law over a stamp? No, that should not happen.
I think let's also look at another important aspect, which the CEO also, I think he admitted that, yes, we agree with you on the aspect of what the international reports, electoral reports, entails us that we can't introduce new laws or make new reforms a few months before an election.
Absolutely.
And he admitted that.
He admitted. And if they were magnanimous enough as ECZ and want to uphold the integrity that ECZ has been known for, they should have said, we will not do this because the law has been done now. We will implement in the next cycle. We will use the next 5 years to clean up all these things that have been introduced by a new law, to give them ample time so that come 2031 elections, all these things now will come into play. Now they are putting themselves under duress. When you look at that roadmap they have released of consultations around delimitation, at the same time they have to be thinking about printing ballots. They have to be thinking about voter awareness. It is too much, and they don't have that time as well as enough human resource to do all of these things. So the very fact that he admitted that it is against internationally accepted best practice, they should have been magnanimous and say, we will implement this in the next 5 years, and then come 2030, all of these things will kick in.
But I love the sobriety of Mr. Kasaro.
Absolutely.
Quite sober. And,
I love that too.
Yeah.
You guys had a very
composed
tepid, and mature discussion.
Yes.
That's why even PK, the owner of the show, says he wants to be like you when he grows up.
All right, thank you so much, PK. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for that. And speech analyst, we get to our fourth story. We are trying by all means to manage our stories. We've got a number of stories, but I hope we can deal with these stories before we are, given a signal by director that time is not with us. Let's talk about the education system as well, the happenings. I think on Thursday last week, there was a news item. There were some instructions which came from the Minister of Education instructing the teachers out there that they should not be turning back or turning away pupils who reports for class late. And we have to understand that when you mess up with the education system of a country and then you not have quality education you desire. I will give an example of myself. Really, I think during my days in the primary, talk about secondary schools or high school itself, there was no time at which the teachers were told or instructed not to treat children or discipline with the pupils. So today the story is different, but however, let's watch this clip together. Then I will allow Ambassador, Comrade Speech Analyst, and also PK to dive into this conversation.
Education is every child's right, but in some cases, pupils are sent away from school on grounds of reporting for school late. This development has come to the attention of government that some schools are chasing away learners for coming late. Minister of Education and Principal Public Relations Officer Clive Kalunga has directed school authorities in the country against sending away pupils.
We are aware that some schools have been turning away learners that report late for class. Now, on account of being late, it should not be the basis for school authorities to turn away these learners. We would like to direct the schools countrywide that please, henceforth, they need to stop turning pupils away. Please, school authorities, heed this directive.
He said the pupils that are sent away lose motivation to learn.
But because this learner lives with a single guardian, he or she goes back home and is left vulnerable. by turning away this learner, then we are, disadvantaging, at the same time putting the life of this child at risk.
He warned school authorities in the country against frustrating government efforts on the free education policy.
Duty is the duty of the school to find out why there's this repeated behavior of not adhering to the school rules. So we urge the school authorities that at no point should the gates or classrooms be locked, because our mandate is to give each child an opportunity to be in class. We have made it education for all.
Mr. Kalunga has a message to the parents and guardians to take keen interest in the timetable of their children.
Equally, we would like to urge parents also to take keen interest in the timetable, in the school system, the timings of the school system, that please at all times take keen interest in the times that the child leaves for class, the time that the child knocks off from school, because it is in that system that we are going to be molding these young learners to become responsible citizens.
Kevin Chimbinde reporting for Zanis in Lusaka.
I'll begin from the end. PK. No teacher is allowed now to punish a pupil for reporting late for work. Either go back home or some. Yes.
Look, IP, is that a verbal policy? Is it a written policy? Or it's an emotional outburst of an official within the ministry or government? Well, I mean, before even we discuss, let's establish that fact.
Yeah.
Because, we might be discussing a matter that cannot be enforced.
Indeed.
If it is an emotional outburst on the spur of a moment, I feel like because I'm a minister or a PS or whatever, I can say this and it will become policy, nada. The only man allowed by law to say and it becomes policy is the president.
Exactly.
So this matter, I doubt that it is one that could be enforced unless it's been reduced into writing and it is part of the education reforms, and we will hear from the minister who doesn't suffer from poverty of the mind, come to address the nation and say this is the new direction. Then maybe we will believe it and discuss it.
Ambassador, your take.
Time is
Also,
very important
yeah.
in education
Yeah.
and just in life. You've got to keep time. Like this evening, you always tell us we are starting at 20:30 sharp. So that means everything else I was supposed to do before 20:30 has to stop.
Exactly.
It's called discipline, because time is money. So I think there is lots of ways that you can enforce time without having to go and say don't observe time, because then that takes away.
That's what it means.
From, it takes away from the same educational institution that you're trying to institutionalize. Like PK has said, if that be the case. But I think we need a policy in place to ensure that it's really a place. But I would not want a situation where children can go to school anytime that they want. Because then they can also leave anytime that they want. And then also here on the analysis every Sunday, then I can come in at 21 hours and just come and join in with PK and the speech analyst. Guys, I'm late. I think those are the two
After all, my striker.
Yeah, after all, I'm a striker. No, I'm actually the owner of the ball. And PK is the owner of the ball. So I can come anytime. The ball and the guy. That I'm the fire. Ball game kuti hapa pale pale. I just pick up my ball and go home. So I think there should be discipline all the time. Yeah.
Wow. Comrade speech analyst, I want to assume before you come in, I want to imagine I'm a teacher. Because, I mean, if you ask me, the operations of, teachers, I know them very well. We talk about the lessons plans, schemes of work. I know all those. Yeah. Okay. So you have your scheme of work, and you know that your lesson maybe will start maybe at 8 hours. And then here's a pupil who comes at 11 hours. What happens? What is he or he going to learn from there?
I think this matter will be clarified during the course of this week.
Indeed, as the PK has said.
As PK has explained, because I also want to borrow a word from the ambassador.
Yeah.
We go to school for different things, to learn and also to be disciplined. The president of this country, Mr. Hakainde Hichelema, has spoken about how we need to ensure that when you are at the office, you make sure that the work is done before you knock off. Now, how are you going to do that if from where you're coming from grade 1 up to probably maybe from 5, you don't regard time as important.
You don't respect time.
You don't respect time. I think the person may have been misled, and I hope he's going to come back and say I was misquoted, because we need to build a society that is disciplined. And we remember the issue of charity begins at home. Most children do not spend time, majority of their time, with parents. They spend it at school. Now, if at school, the government is telling you you can go to school at any time you want, I think the government...
That's anarchy, yeah?
That's anarchy and promoting lawlessness. Because look, there must be a difference between a person who goes to school and a junkie.
Yeah.
Correct. I love the analogy. A junkie can get high anytime.
Anytime.
Correct.
Anytime is high time.
I'll end there.
I don't know if some of us were mistreated or were treated well, because speaking, I will share with you this. And Ambassador.
Indeed.
For some of us, if you are beaten, you are whipped by your teacher at school, you can't even dare to go and tell your mother at home.
No.
Or your parents at home.
Because also the question is, why were you whipped?
No, it will be more worse than what happened at school.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah. So you just suck it in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You even tell that the same teacher was beaten you, don't tell my mother.
Yeah.
Did they use a duster?
That's
Yes,
those
yes,
things. During June.
We are the
Yeah.
Mr. Kanyimbo. Oh, Mr. Kanyimbo, if you are watching. I haven't
He used to
forgotten.
punish you.
I haven't forgotten.
What
this.
subject was he teaching you, Pastor?
Geography and English.
You see?
You
Now
know.
you can speak good English.
You know?
And you know where you are right now because of Mr. Kanyimbo.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, anyway, that's it. That's it. Let's move on to another story now. Look at Brian Mundubile. Of course, it keeps on making news in the media. And this time around, he was commenting about the strengthened Kwacha. According to him, despite that the Kwacha is gaining weight or momentum, but it translates to nothing when it comes to the ordinary citizens on the ground. Let's watch this clip.
At least your pronunciation of our Eastern languages is getting better.
I started my school in Solwezi at Kikombe Primary School, so I could speak the languages there.
Amazing. Let's get straight into the meat of our conversation. The Ghanaian president, His Excellency John Mahama, was in town, and he left quite an impression, not only for his outfit, his traditional outfit, but also he spoke on the need for strong democratic institutions in Africa, and that the continent does not really need strong men, and he made various statements. What did you make of his visit and some of the statements that he made?
His visit was very significant, and like you said, he left quite an impression, and specifically and especially to our government. You know, many a time there's been a number of discussions concerning the weak governance systems as regards the judiciary, as regards the legislature, and many other institutions under the executive. So the statement by the Ghanaian president, who greatly assists our government in that when the opposition speak, sometimes it's taken to be mere, a noise. But this time around, the president made his submission. He made a statement on the floor of the House, and he was speaking from an informed background. I have been to Ghana several times, and I can attest to the fact that the governance institutions are indeed very strong. I agree with him, and I agree with the statement, especially where he says African countries do not need strong men, but strong institutions. So the ECZ should pick a leaf from that. The judiciary should pick a leaf from that. The Auditor General's office should pick a leaf from that. FIC and all other institutions. You know, Bichi, they say that the greatness of a nation is judged from its fidelity to the law. So clearly, if You want to make Zambia great, you must build strong institutions so that it's not dependent upon how good a president of that time is, but the systems, the institutions that exist will be able to discipline whatever individual that assumes office.
Beautiful. Let's get into it. I'll begin from Ambassador, and then we move on like that.
Thank you very much, our host, IP, and our viewers this evening. I tend to agree with the presidential aspirant, Honorable Brian Mundubile, when he talks about the lack of correlation between the strengthening of our local currency, the kwacha, and the weakening of the US dollar. Yeah. According to my basic understanding, this is all about power purchase parity. It is about the ability of you to buy a loaf of bread, a bag of meal, or to fill in gasoline in your car.
Correct.
So if the kwacha has gained strength, I do expect that the bag of meal, a 25 kg bag, which I was buying at 350 kwacha, within time, and now it has been strengthening for about 2 to 3 months, I should see a significant drop in the price of meal. I am not a trained economist. I am a basic person with a basic understanding of supply and demand. I go into a shop and I buy a loaf of bread, which I used to buy at 25 kwacha 2 months ago. Despite the kwacha having exponentially gained strength, I am still buying that loaf of bread at 25 kwacha today. So I ask myself, as Honorable Brian Mundubile does, and he should know better because he's a chartered accountant. I mean, the man has done his SCCA before he did his law, and he's taken care of the health of accounts. So he knows when he is saying, look, as a presidential aspirant, I want to run on politics of reality, which says if there is single-digit inflation, then so must be the food. If the kwacha has strengthened, that means even the oil that we import must eventually come down. If we have 5.3 billion US dollars in our foreign currency reserves, that means it should also translate to some sort of, a well-cushioned economy for what he likes to call, I think in that clip, what difference, and I had watched him with PK in this very house, when he gives an example of this woman he has coined, a very, very powerful message, by the way, called Vanakurumutinta Pankasa. In English, it would be, what about Joe the plumber? What about Auntie Agatha on the street? How does this single-digit inflation translate kuli Vanakurumutinta Pankasa? How does this increased $5.3 billion reserves in the foreign reserves in the central bank translate kulibana mukuluputinta pankasa? So as we go towards the elections, I think messages such as the ones that are being given out by presidential aspirants such as Honorable Brian Mundubile must not be simply dismissed by saying, oh no, it's because you want to be president, so you don't care that there is single-digit inflation. Because you want to be president, you don't want to appreciate that now we have electricity. And this is the other thing, and I actually wrote about it myself because I have a weekly column which comes out and is very widely followed by more than 100,000 people every week. I wrote the same thing, and I said, it does not really mean we should be grateful, for instance, when ZESCO gives us electricity, which we pay for. We should not thank them.
No.
That is what they are supposed to do.
Yes.
My son, Luvinda, should not thank me for sending him to university.
That's your responsibility.
That's my responsibility. I should not tell my wife, tulalia pano, tulalia breakfast na lunch na sapa, muletasha.
I see.
Kuli ba nani, kuli ba ngani kula mwali kuli ba Pastor Kennedy mambo. Mshemu aledi alionse. No. This is what you are supposed to do. It reminds me of one of my favorite commentators and comedian, Chris Rock, who says, niggers are the worst people, They go around bragging about things that normal people are supposed to do. For instance, they brag about shit like, I ain't never been to jail. So you're not supposed to go to jail. I take care of my kids. So who you want to take care of your kids? So, somebody wants us to thank them for giving us electricity, which we pay for.
Yes, it's not for free.
It's not for free. Somebody wants us to thank them for stabilizing the economy, which is what you signed.
That's why we voted you.
Exactly. Somebody wants to sign us so there is peace. That's why you voted out the Patriotic Front. So I agree with Honorable Brian Mundubile when he says that, we should walk the walk and talk the talk.
Right.
Single-digit inflation, a strengthened kwacha should translate normally to how Banamutinta Pankasa is supposed to work.
Right. PK, your 2 minutes starts now.
My 2 minutes, IP, first of all, I must mention that about a week or two ago, there was a lot of excitement when the Zambia Association of Manufacturers president wrote and said, because of the economic fundamentals that have now settled well in place, a number of manufacturers have reduced the price of commodities. The expectation, therefore, must answer the question that Ambassador is raising. If the manufacturers have started reducing the commodity price at wholesale level, who is going to go with a shambok from ShopRite to ShopRite and from corner shop to corner shop to say, hello, we are going to forget about the fact that we are liberalized the economy. Can you reduce all?
We're going to enforce.
We are going to enforce. Like Bowman Rusambo during COVID. Why have you gone out? Boom!
The bulldozer.
Yeah, the bulldozer. So maybe we need to see an economic bulldozer from the UPND.
Yes.
But that might be also against the law. We are a free economy, free market economy. But indeed, if there is a reduction in the pricing from the wholesale perspective, how can we pass on that benefit to the end user at the bottom line there of this chain? Otherwise, if that does not happen, it will just be a useless and meaningless song. It reminds me of what the UPND used to tell the Patriot Front when the PF said, we have built infrastructure, roads and airports. They would say, so now we must also ask the UPND, when you say the kwacha has appreciated and we have a single digit and there is no reduction in minimum, single inflation,
single digit
or reduction in inflation. We want the real reduction.
It's tough being in government.
Fantastic. Let's move on, gentlemen. We'll look at two stories as we wind up. Mike Sichula, I'm going to skip you on this particular story. We look at the opposition unit. For a long time now, there's been some efforts to ensure that the opposition unites, but also we've got the Brian Mundubile team, which doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon with their mobility ahead of the elections come August this year. But also the Council of Elders, they seem to be quite determined that we need to ensure that we have one presidential candidate in that regard. Let's begin to interrogate these issues. Comrade Sichula, I'll start with you.
I think one of the issues in terms of opposition unit, I think we need to be realistic with ourselves. It is not going to happen. It is not going to happen because political parties have got different ideologies of how they perceive to develop Zambia when given an opportunity by Zambians to lead this country. You saw how there was a...
By the way, you've got 2 minutes.
Okay,
I'll be very strict on that.
You saw how the United Democratic Alliance That was at the UPND, FODEP, I mean FDD and others.
Correct.
They came together for some time, but it did not last. They didn't win the election. So if we begin to say, to insist on opposition unity, I think we are not being realistic with ourselves as Zambians and also as political parties that we are looking forward to say they are going to form government next year on the 13th of August. When you look at Chawama, for instance, how many political parties participated? There were about 6 and 3 independents. When you cross over to during the mayoral election in Kasama, the number of political parties was less. So, do we really understand when we say the opposition should be united? I think we are heaping too much responsibility on political parties who, when they sit in their boardrooms, they say, actually, our policies are different from political A and political B and C and D, so there's no need for us to unite. This is why whenever there's a by-election, before the by-election, they'll talk about political unity, but when there's a by-election, you find that all these political parties go individual and file for nominations and contest the election.
Right.
So aside political unit, there is need for political parties that do not want to unite with their friends to go on the ground, explain why they don't want to unite with their friends, so that Zambians can begin to say, I think we should vote for this political party and not this political party.
Right.
That's how we are going to move as a nation.
Ambassador, 2 minutes starts now.
2 minutes, IP. I will just take you back to way back around 1985, 1986, when the major stars in the West, in the United States, came together on a project called USAID for Africa. We saw big guns such as Quincy Jones. We saw big guns such as Lionel Richie. We saw big guns such as the King of Pop, Michael Jackson, come and say that we gotta bring in a couple of mega heavy hitters, the kings of pop and the queens of pop, to come up and make $1 billion to help reduce poverty in Africa. But therein lay the dilemma. All these are big guys with big egos, with big planes, with big machines, all supposed to come and share one microphone and one camera like we are doing right now. They said, how are we going to do it? We will only succeed if all of these guys sing with one voice. And that's why the song is going to be, we are the world, we are the children, to make a better day, just you and me. And after trying several times, they were failing until Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, and Lionel Richie says, we got to come up with just one simple thing. As they all come to the studio, there's going to be a tag on the entrance of the studio. Please leave your ego behind. Right. So everybody was reminded that, look, PK, we know you're a big guy, speech analyst, you are big. IP, we know you are bigger than even all of us. But if we are going to make this work for the world, to make a better day, just you and me, let's leave our ego behind. Let me bring it down in the last 1 minute. Is what the Zambian opposition and civil society are looking at right now in Zambia is there's been complaints that there has been a diminishing space for association, there's been a diminishing space for human rights, there's been a diminishing space for interaction. Remember, this is the only time since the return to multi-party politics when one single party has not been allowed to have a public rally in 4 years, going to 5 years before elections. So, whether these people are going to come together or not, they just have to remember one thing. If you do not come together, whether you like each other or not, the space for free and greater association may become even smaller. The abuse of rights, which you say is increasing, may even rise. The arbitrary arrests and detentions of people whom you think are innocent may even increase. The forfeiture of properties which you think are selective for some people and better for the others may increase. So, as you come into this arena 6 months before the elections, think of this and leave your ego behind.
Is the Council of Elders doing what is supposed to be done?
I will pass that
Within
over to
15
the
seconds?
pastor.
Okay. PK, your take.
IP, there is an increasing realization that opposition must unite. But I want also to agree with the speech analyst.
Yeah.
It is not going to happen. The opposition will not rally behind a single candidate. Please put me on record. 3 months to presidential nominations. The opposition will not rally behind one candidate. Why? I have interacted with the nearly all of them. And I can speak here with 150% certainty that you will have names I can name on the ballot, but I will not name. And here is the reason why I think they will not work together. First of all, let's start with the 1991. There was only UNIP and Kaunda.
Correct.
And the rest of the country realized that we needed multipartism. The efforts were galvanized towards one goal. Therefore, the highly touted Garden House resolution and meeting that gave to multipartism was an easy road to walk because the objective was one. We are how many years into multipartism now?
Ooh, since 1991. That's
Talk about close to 30?
Yes, close to 30 years.
More than that.
More than 30 years of
Yes.
multipartism. You cannot come and collapse different political parties into one ideology, into one objective. Worse off with 3 months to presidential nomination.
Nominations, yes.
And
That's
I'll
May,
say-
Pastor.
Yes, and I'll say this, and with no malice of forethought, because the people I'm going to talk about are lawyers. They understand this, and no malice of forethought. Let's suppose Mr. John Sango has been a state counsel and lawyer for much of his career.
Yeah.
Mr. Makebi Zulu has been a lawyer for much of his career. Both of them have only announced their intentions to enter politics now. Then you come and say the most popular is John Sangwa or the most popular is Makebi Zulu. Mr. Harikalava, Mr. Fred Membe rally behind Makebi Zulu, who has just entered
Politics.
The political
Mr.
foray.
Dr. Fred Membe rally behind John Sangwa, who has just entered politics now. The egos that Ambassador was talking about, they are big in politics.
They are too
So
big.
that is a no. It won't happen. Now, you asked a question about the Council of Elders.
Correct.
We wrote an extensive editorial on the Council of
Indeed, I
Elders.
read it this morning.
Anyone who cares to understand,
It's quite poignant.
go to our KBN page and read that editorial.
See that.
And we spoke about what are the Council of Elders trying to achieve. Quickly, I will speak to the current set of the expanded Council of Elders, and then I'll backtrack a little bit as I close. The so-called expanded Council of Elders seem to be fixated on wanting to push through with an elective conference after trying the conclave idea, which fell flat and didn't materialize that the PF should emerge with a single candidate. And remember, at that time, they were only focused on the PF
Indeed.
to have one candidate.
One candidate.
Even just from one political
One party,
party, they
yes.
failed to
Yes.
attain that unity and galvanize the effort to come up with the one. They've said, no, now let's go to the elective conference where they want to broaden the participation. But even in broadening the participation, they have been very selective. Brian Mundubile is not part of that. Hari Kalaba is not part of that.
Fred
Membe
is part of
is
that.
part
Yes,
of
the
that.
elders, yes.
But if I pause there, IP, Fred Membe, we already know that he's been announced as a presidential candidate for the People's Pact. It's an alliance.
Yes. Harikalaba also has a pact.
Hari Kalaba has a pact with a number of
With the
political
Savoy
parties,
and others.
Revamped
Yes.
Party, Savoy Imboela,
Brian Mundubile has his Tonse Alliance.
and the elders don't seem to recognize those efforts. The question then is, who is informing them or misinforming them?
Yes.
That you cannot recognize the efforts of Harry Kalaba, you cannot recognize the efforts of Fred Membe and the People's Pact, and that Dr. Membe is already a presidential candidate there. You cannot recognize the efforts of Brian Mundubile, who was elected by 10 political parties and 8 civil society organizations, but you are saying, as we are going to organize a conference, forget about those. Shouldn't they be saying to these other political parties, look at Harry Kalaba, look at Fred Membe, look at Brian Mundubile, can you not go and join them?
Indeed.
But what the expanded Council of Elders are doing is, forget about those. We are the ones who should make and announce who should become a candidate that should be supported by everyone else. Where is the logic?
Inclusion.
Where is the analysis? Where is the logic? Where is the what is informing their decision? How is Harry Kalaba feeling? How is Brian Mundubile feeling? How is Fred Membe feeling? And suppose this conference takes place anyway. I already said this. If, from what we know, the shortlisted candidates are Dr. Membe, Makebi Zulu, John Sangwa, and
Banda.
Let's suppose, one of them wins. Peradventure, Dorica wins. We expect Dr. Fred Membe, who is part of the candidates, to say, Dorica has won. You have my support. Do you know how much Dr. Membe has sunk into building
his structure?
Do you know how much Harry Kalaba has sunk to build countrywide structures? Do you know how much Brian Mundubile has sunk into getting all these countrywide endorsements? Then the Council of Elders should just come up and say, but in any case, you're also wondering, what is the qualification to be called the
Council of Elders?
Correct.
Who ordained you?
I mean, without taking away anything. I know Dr. Brian Mushimba. He's a young man like me.
Correct.
How does he qualify to be called a member of the Council of Elders? Is it because he was a cabinet minister? Is that the only qualification? I beg to differ. So, this is where the problem is. Now, as I close, let me backtrack. There was an original Council of Elders, which composed the likes of former Justice Lombechiwe Sakunda, Bishop Lloyd Siame,
former Vice President.
Yes, former Ambassador to Sweden, Reverend Edith Motale.
Yes.
Prince Akashamba Twambikusta is the only one from that crop who is actively in the expanded. The rest, there is information that they may not be in agreement with the thrust and the direction this thing has taken, and they have opted to take a backseat. You would actually say their idea has been hijacked politically, and they do not want to be associated with an uncertain outcome. And in closing, IP, when the original Council of Elders was meeting nearly every political leader without saying, no, we will not meet this one or that one, they, to my knowledge, they met every political leader. Guess what? There was no press release. There was no press briefing to say we are doing this. They were doing it under the radar, discreetly, respectfully, to say, can you work together? You owe this duty to the voters and the Zambian people. Go and talk together. They were just bringing them to a common place where they can respectively have a discourse. But when you say, we will not engage Kasonde Mwenda, we will not engage Andy Ford, we will not engage Kalaba, we will not engage, but we'll just work with the 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you are saying you are trying to raise a united opposition. It's an impossibility.
When in fact you are causing more division.
You are causing more division.
The opposition camp.
So the expanded Council of Elders, actually they are causing more confusion than what they are actually projecting themselves. If I were to be approached as a funder, I would say no. I think I'll find the opposition, the politicians who know what they're doing,
Indeed,
than the Council of Elders who seem to be funding confusion.
There also sense of entitlement by that grouping, if you ask me as well.
They want
based
to,
on the submission.
They want to say they are the kingmakers.
Exactly. Exactly.
There was a place for CEDA in years past.
yeah.
This is not the time for CEDA.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
All right, Ambassador, I'll give you the last question to be handled by you and yourself alone. I'll look at the youth.
Why are you being discriminatory? Is it because I'm black?
It's because you've got a cup. Let's talk about the, of course, the happening. I mean, where the UN boss, of course, Mr. Antonio Guterres, stressing the need or the importance of having a permanent seat at the UN Security Council. We are talking about Africa and Africa and Africa again, my continent I love the most.
Indeed.
Ambassador, I'll put a disclaimer. I don't believe in the AU, by the way. I don't believe in these rhetorics that are being talked about today, but I will hand over this to you.
But you know, one thing I like about you, IP, our host, and our viewers should understand this very evening, is that at least I know you believe in God.
Oh, yes, I do.
So that's a start.
No, I do. I do.
That's a start.
I do.
The Africa Union is not perfect,
I
like
hear
many
you.
international bodies.
I hear you.
In fact, many call it an old man's club, toothless, just like the United Nations. You know, just like the Southern African Development Community, SADC. But at least it gives us hope that when there is really nothing to hold on to, we can go to the African Union. Then later on, we may work on something that is much stronger. Exactly. So, Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, long-serving Secretary General, like all of them do, from Kofi Annan and Ban Ki-moon and others, his term has finally come to an end at the end of this year. And he has made it his last wish and mantra that before I leave, from now on January until the time that I leave, my message is that Africa, this continent of 1.4 billion people, must obtain a seat on the all-powerful United Nations Security Council. This is the powerful body of the United Nations where there is the United States of America, there is China, there is Russia, there is France, there is Britain. These countries have what they call a veto. They will say what is going to happen regarding world affairs.
Very powerful.
Very powerful, and you know, there's been long-made calls that it has to be reformed. So Mr. Guterres says, as part of the reforms, let's have Africa get a seat. You know, China was never on the United Nations Security Council. Actually, it was helped to get on the United Nations Security Council by Africa. Africa lobbied to get China. It took China 22 years to get on the United Nations Security Council. Before we got on the program, I was chatting with the pastor. They were saying, let's hope it happens for when. I was just short of saying, well, it took China 22 years. So what we normally do, you and I, even here when we come, when we say we want greater integration, we want greater association, we want greater freedom, we know we may not get it today. Yasichula won't get it today. Zimbala Mafia, but I know Mbala Mafia is, you know, they fight a little bit more. But we'll get it eventually. So I am just hoping African leaders, the ones that are aspiring, like for instance in our country right now, the Brian Mundubiles, the Harry Kalawas, who is a former foreign affairs minister, the Fred Members, a former editor-in-chief, a renowned lawyer, and all the other opposition guys, if they so happen to ever get into power, one of the things that they should look at is coalescing the rest of the other African countries that we should push to get a seat on the United Nations Security Council. Even the United Security Council, as you do not have as much, you know, faith in the African Union, lots of people have also lost faith in the United Nations, especially where you have a cantankerous president of the United States, such as Donald Trump, who can wake up one day, he says, I don't respect international
Has
charters.
he not exited the US from the UN?
He has exited 31 United Nations agencies.
And here is what I think, Ambassador.
Please go ahead.
It may not take 20 years now
Mm-hmm.
for Africa, because the big brother, the US voice and the void they've left must be filled by someone. And there's a possibility. Africa was not, and no any other African country was part of the BRICS. South Africa was recently admitted as a member of the BRICS, and they hosted.
Exactly. That's why there is ACE.
Yes.
BRICS.
Yeah. So I think that maybe times and seasons have changed.
Yep.
It could as well favor Africa's admission to the Security Council.
And that's a wrap.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I couldn't have been put it much better than the pastor, but I'm sure the speech analyst probably even has a better take on closing this one.
Thank you. Thank you, PK.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. We end the program this evening. We've been, of course, having quite a long conversation on various topics. PK, thank you so much for coming through. We'll be back next week.
IP, I'm grateful to God for the opportunity to sit with these wonderful sons of the soil, and yourself as our host. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Ambassador, I appreciate you as well.
Thank you very much, IP, our host with the most, and thank you very much, our lovely Zambian viewers within Zambia and beyond, as usual. Happy Sunday. By the way, I almost forgot. I don't know whether I'll be allowed to go back home today if I don't say Happy Valentine's. Sweetheart. I understand it was Valentine's yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you had to put a cherry on top today.
Exactly. You know, just in case.
I saw the pictures, by the way.
Oh,
beautiful.
My God, I thought it was...
this man is romantic.
Trying to catch up with you, man. It's not easy, you know.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, speech analyst. We appreciate it as well.
Thank you, IP. I just want to have a small thing. I will not take much of your time.
I love that.
No. Let's agree first. How much time do you need? Let's agree.
Negotiating, IP.
How much time do you need?
No, there's just something that I think less than a minute or two.
No. I can't give you 2 minutes.
Less than a minute.
I think so, yeah.
I think I wanted to say, I wanted to say this before I post on my page.
Okay.
When you look at the numbers in 2011, when the MMD lost to the PF,
right,
then the economic numbers were very good, as they are under the UPND. The only thing people were complaining about was the cost of living, which Ambassador spoke to.
Okay.
Now, the only difference there was that now the MMD had saved 20 years. The UPND has saved 10 years.
The UPND has saved 5 years.
Has saved 5 years. But the challenges, despite the good economic numbers, bumper harvest and everything, electricity supply was there, people complained about poverty.
Right.
Under the UPND, we have a lot of poverty. So it is something that the political messaging, as Brian Mundubile is talking about, it's something that should not be watered down.
Right.
It is a very critical issue that Zambians are looking forward to. Yes, you have given us all these good things, all these good numbers, but going back home, there is poverty.
Single inflation.
There's
Foreign
poverty.
reserves.
Oh my goodness.
Monetary policy rates.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to say it here before because we deliberate these issues here. Before they see it on our pages, they should have heard it from the analysis.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through, and allow me to appreciate all of you that have managed to switch on to our conversation this evening. That's a KBN TV, the analysis program, which comes on Sunday every 20-30 hours. But of course, remember, tomorrow, Monday at 09 hours, we'll give you a repeat in case you miss out. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.